June 30th, 1999. A hot summer afternoon in the heartland of America, Missouri. A place where cornfields stretch for miles and the air is thick with heat. But on this day, something horrifying was about to be uncovered. A local farmer, walking across his field near St. Charles County, stumbles upon a body. The man is so badly decomposed that at first, no one can even recognize who he is. The police are called, sirens blare, and soon the quiet countryside turns into a crime scene. But here's where the story takes a dark, mysterious turn. Inside the victim's pockets are two pieces of paper. Ordinary sheets, but covered in strange, cryptic letters, numbers, and symbols. Pages that look like they've been written in some secret code. More than 20 years later, no one has been able to crack it. Not the FBI, not professional code breakers, not even the world's smartest cryptographers. The victim's name? Ricky McCormick. And tonight, we dive deep into one of America's most baffling unsolved mysteries. The Ricky McCormick coded papers. Because somewhere inside those pages may lie the truth about why he died and who killed him. It was late June 1999. Missouri was scorching under the summer sun. Farmers were busy with their crops. Families were preparing for Independence Day celebrations. Life in rural America was normal, quiet, and predictable. But on June 30th, around 11:30 in the morning, a farmer made a call that would change everything. He had found something strange in his field. The body of a man lying face down in the grass, partially hidden. By the time police arrived, it was clear. This man had been dead for days. His body was bloated, discolored, and decomposed beyond recognition. There was no ID, no wallet, nothing obvious to tell investigators who he was. At first, detectives thought maybe it was just another case of natural death. After all, Missouri summers can be brutal. People collapse from heat stroke or wander off and don't make it back. But this body, this was different. There were no obvious wounds, no gunshot holes, no stab marks, no blunt force trauma. But there was something else, something no one could explain. As officers searched the victim's clothing, they found two sheets of paper folded neatly inside his pocket. And what was on those papers? Not a shopping list, not a phone number, not even random doodles. The pages were filled, completely filled, with what looked like a code. Strange strings of letters, numbers, symbols, arranged in no logical order. Lines like WLDNCBEDNCN, NPRSENTPRL, 74-79-14-X-41. To the untrained eye, it looked like gibberish, but to the detectives it felt deliberate, like someone was hiding something. What did it mean? A secret message? A map? Instructions? Whatever it was, it would soon become the centerpiece of one of the FBI's most frustrating unsolved mysteries. The coroner's office worked quickly to identify the body. Dental records, fingerprints, and eventually DNA testing confirmed it. The man was Ricky McCormick. Ricky was 41 years old. Not a wealthy man, not a powerful man, not even someone most people had ever heard of. He lived a quiet, somewhat troubled life in St. Louis. He didn't have a high school diploma. He had health problems, including chronic heart issues. He worked odd jobs here and there, never holding anything steady. But Ricky had one big question mark attached to his life. He had a reputation for being involved with shady people. Friends and acquaintances said he would sometimes disappear for days, showing up again without explanation. He was rumored to be connected with drug dealers. Some said he was used as a runner, someone who transported things. Money, maybe drugs, maybe something else. And now, Ricky was dead in a cornfield. So the obvious question was, Who wanted him dead? And the even bigger question, what were those codes doing in his pocket? Investigators sent the papers straight to the FBI. The unit responsible was the Cryptanalysis and Racketeering Records Unit, the CRRU, some of the smartest code breakers in America. At first, agents thought this would be simple. Maybe Ricky was just jotting down numbers or street names. Maybe it was a personal note. But as the weeks turned into months and the months into years, the FBI admitted something shocking. They couldn't solve it. The code didn't match any known language. It didn't line up with standard encryption systems. It wasn't a common substitution cipher, or a military code, or even a gang-related shorthand. To this day, nobody knows what it says. And here's the strangest part. Ricky himself was barely literate. He could write his name, simple words, but he was not known to have the skills to create something so complex. So if Ricky didn't write the code, who did? Was Ricky McCormick murdered because of what was written on those papers? Or were the papers the only clue he left behind, trying to warn the world about what was coming? To understand the mystery of the codes, we have to understand the man who carried them. Who exactly was Ricky McCormick? Was he a criminal mastermind living a double life? Or just an ordinary man caught in something far bigger than himself? Ricky McCormick was born in 1958 in St. Louis, Missouri. He grew up in a working-class neighborhood, in a world where opportunity was scarce and trouble was always just around the corner. From a young age, Ricky struggled in school. Teachers described him as quiet, distracted, often absent. By the time he reached high school, Ricky had already fallen behind. Eventually, he dropped out. He never earned a diploma. He never learned to read and write properly. His literacy was so limited, family members said Ricky couldn't even write a proper letter. At best, he could scribble his name, a few words, but nothing complex. And that is one of the strangest parts of this story. Because the papers found in his pocket in 1999, they weren't just scribbles. They looked like an entire coded language. How could a man who could barely write his own name create something so advanced that even the FBI couldn't crack it? Unless, of course, those codes didn't belong to Ricky. Ricky's life wasn't easy. He battled chronic heart problems for most of his adult years. He couldn't work heavy labor jobs for long. So instead, he drifted. Small part-time gigs, odd jobs, anything that would put some cash in his pocket. But drifting also meant he fell into bad company. By his late 20s, Ricky was already on law enforcement's radar. He was arrested multiple times for minor offenses, possession, petty crimes, nothing too major. But his associations were concerning. He was known to hang around with drug dealers. Sometimes he would disappear for days, only to return with money in his pocket and no explanation. Friends said he was used as a runner, someone who carried messages, packages, or cash between dealers. It was dangerous work, and it made him enemies. On the surface, Ricky was just another man trying to survive in St. Louis. He had girlfriends, he had family, he had people who cared about him. But behind the scenes, things were different. Police records showed Ricky often crossed state lines without explanation. He would vanish for days, sometimes weeks. When asked where he'd been, he gave vague answers. Some believed Ricky was more involved with drug trafficking than anyone realized. Maybe he was trusted with sensitive information. Maybe he carried something more than just packages. Maybe he carried secrets. And if those codes in his pocket were connected to the underworld, then maybe Ricky was killed to keep those secrets hidden. The timeline of Ricky's last days is murky. On June 25, 1999, just 5 days before his body was found, Ricky checked into a local hospital for chest pains. Doctors treated him and released him. Family members say he mentioned he wasn't feeling well, but he didn't give many details. After leaving the hospital, Ricky vanished. No one knows exactly where he went. No one knows who he was with. Then, on June 30th, his body turned up in that cornfield. He was 41 years old, alone, decomposed, and carrying 2 pages of code that nobody could understand. Ricky wasn't a politician. He wasn't a spy. He wasn't a soldier. He was just an ordinary man living an ordinary life. But ordinary men don't usually carry encrypted notes that stump the FBI for decades. So the question is, was Ricky McCormick living a secret life? Or was he simply in the wrong place at the wrong time with the wrong people? Inside Ricky McCormick's pocket were not drugs, not money, not identification cards. Instead, 2 sheets of paper, filled with rows and rows of what looked like pure nonsense. But was it nonsense? Or was it the key to unlocking the truth behind his death? When investigators opened the folded papers, they expected to see an address, maybe a phone number, something simple. Instead, they found strange lines of text like this: MCKNXLNCBEWLDXRUL 74-79-14-X-41 and DNCNNPRSENTPRLSEWLDNCB. To a normal person, it looked meaningless. Random letters, occasional numbers, no punctuation, no context. But detectives knew one thing instantly. This was not random scribbling. It looked structured. It looked deliberate. It looked like a code. The papers were sent to the Cryptanalysis and Racketeering Records Unit of the FBI, the CRRU. This was the same elite unit that had cracked mob codes, intercepted cartel messages, and solved complex ciphers in national security cases. Surely, if anyone could solve Ricky's notes, it would be them. But weeks turned into months, months into years, and the FBI admitted something no one expected. They couldn't solve it. Cryptography experts explain why Ricky's code is so baffling. 1. No known cipher pattern. It isn't a Caesar shift, it isn't substitution, it isn't Pigpen or Morse code. Some words are short, some long. Some letters repeat in strange places. FBI believes this may have been a homemade cipher, a personal shorthand Ricky invented for himself. But there's a problem. Ricky McCormick was barely literate. His family said he couldn't spell properly, let alone create an advanced cipher. So how could these codes exist? In 2011, more than a decade after Ricky's death, the FBI made a shocking decision. They released the notes to the public. On their official website, they posted scanned images of the 2 coded pages. They asked Americans, anyone from professional cryptographers to amateur puzzle solvers, to help crack the mystery. Within days, online forums exploded. Reddit threads lit up. Code-breaking communities dissected every single line. But still, no one could find a solid translation. The mystery only grew deeper. 3002, the papers sparked endless theories. Theory 1, a shopping list or notes. Maybe Ricky used his own shorthand to remember errands, names, or numbers. But why so elaborate? Theory 2, drug codes. Some believed it was related to drug trafficking, locations, amounts, or contacts written in a disguised format. Theory, a diary. Others thought it might be a personal journal, written in a secret language only Ricky understood. A message from someone else. The most chilling theory? Ricky didn't write the codes at all. Maybe someone else slipped them into his pocket. Instructions, warnings, or secrets. That got him killed. 3002. For over 2 decades, some of the brightest minds in America have tried. But the fact remains, the Ricky McCormick coded papers are still unsolved. And until they are cracked, we may never know why he died in that Missouri cornfield. By the summer of 1999, Ricky McCormick's body was lying in a St. Charles County morgue. The papers from his pocket were locked inside FBI evidence, but with no clear suspect, no weapon, and no cause of death, investigators faced a nightmare case. And as they dug deeper into Ricky's life, the questions only multiplied. Theory, autopsy. The first step was the autopsy. Doctors examined Ricky's body carefully, but because he had been lying in the field for several days, decomposition had destroyed many critical details. No gunshot wounds, no stab marks, no blunt trauma fractures. Cause of death? Undetermined. Some believed his chronic heart problems might have killed him naturally. But if that were true, how did his body end up dumped in a cornfield miles from his home? Detectives retraced Ricky's steps. June 25, 1999. Ricky visited the hospital complaining of chest pains. After being discharged, he vanished. June 30th. His body was found 5 days later, 15 miles away from where he lived. The gap between June 25th and June 30th became the center of the investigation. Where was Ricky in those final days? Who was he with? No one could answer. The cornfield itself gave little evidence. No tire tracks, no footprints, no signs of a struggle. It was as if Ricky's body had simply been placed there, carefully. But why there? Why not somewhere closer to the city? Investigators theorized that whoever killed him, if he was killed, wanted to dump his body in a remote place where it wouldn't be discovered immediately. Yet, the farmer found him anyway. With the discovery of the coded papers, local police quickly handed the case to the FBI. The FBI's CRRU, Cryptanalysis and Racketeering Records Unit, took over the code. But the rest of the investigation remained stuck. Agents questioned Ricky's family. They asked about enemies, habits, drug use. Family members told them something surprising. Ricky often carried notes filled with scribbles. They said he had a habit of writing down nonsense words. It was his way of remembering things. So maybe these coded papers weren't criminal at all. Maybe they were just Ricky's personal shorthand. But if that were true, why couldn't the FBI crack them? Investigators floated several possibilities. Ricky was known to associate with dealers. He may have been carrying messages, or money, or information. Did someone kill him to silence him? Was Ricky simply at the wrong place, wrong time, dumped in a field after a robbery gone wrong? Ricky had a complicated love life. He dated multiple women, some married. Was jealousy a motive? The strangest theory: Ricky wasn't the author of the codes at all. Did someone else give him the papers? Were they meant to be delivered? And was he killed for failing to deliver them? Despite interviews, surveillance, and analysis, the investigation went nowhere. No suspects were charged, no arrests were made, no explanations surfaced. For years, the case sat cold, until 2011, when the FBI made the desperate move of releasing the coded papers to the public, hoping someone, somewhere, might solve what they could not. By now, Ricky's story was more than a murder case. It had become a riddle, a puzzle with no solution. And in the absence of answers, theories began to spread like wildfire. Now here's where things get really wild. After the FBI released those coded notes, the internet blew up. From online cryptographers to conspiracy hunters, everybody had a theory. Some folks believed Ricky was secretly a CIA informant, that he had uncovered something dangerous and paid the price. Others said the notes were connected to drug trafficking codes used to hide drop locations and money exchanges. And then there's the most chilling idea: that Ricky never wrote those notes at all. See, his family swears up and down that Ricky could barely read and write. He wasn't the kind of guy to fill pages with complex ciphers. So, if that's true, then who slipped those coded papers into his pockets? And why? One cryptographer on an online forum even claimed, "The notes look like a substitution cipher, but the spacing suggests they're hiding names and addresses. If that's real, it means Ricky's death wasn't random. It was targeted. But what if I told you that the codes might not have been random scribbles at all, and that one theory suggests they point directly to a hidden crime network still operating today? So let's talk about the theories that'll make your skin crawl. Some investigators believe those coded notes weren't just random scribbles. They might have been a map, pointing to drug routes across Missouri. Remember, Ricky was known to hang around with people tied to the underworld. If those pages reveal where the money was moving, then maybe someone killed him to keep him quiet. But here's the creepiest twist. A few codebreakers say the letters match up with certain street names and initials of real people. If that's true, then whoever wrote those notes basically left behind a hit list, names of people connected to something much bigger. And the FBI? They won't talk. Officially, they admit, greater than, we have no idea what these notes mean. Unofficially, though, insiders claim the Bureau has been sitting on leads they'll never release, because those codes could expose a criminal network still active today. Imagine that. The key to shutting down an entire operation could be locked in 2 sheets of paper found in a dead man's pocket. But here's the part that keeps haunting investigators. Ricky's own family believes the FBI already knows more than they're admitting. Did the Bureau cover something up? Or are they as clueless as the rest of us? Now here's where things hit close to home. Ricky's own family never believed the official story. They say the FBI didn't even tell them about the notes until 12 years after Ricky's death. Imagine that. Your brother, your son, found dead with coded papers in his pocket, and the government keeps it quiet for over a decade. When reporters asked Ricky's mom about the notes, she said, "My son couldn't even spell. How could he write a code the FBI can't solve?" His girlfriend backed her up too. She swore Ricky didn't know enough to create such a puzzle. So if he didn't write them, then someone else must have slipped those pages into his clothes after he died. Think about it. That means the notes weren't just evidence. They were a message. But a message to who? And why keep the family in the dark for so long? Some people believe the FBI stayed silent because the truth would cause too much damage. Maybe the code linked to powerful people. Maybe even insiders. And here's the kicker. Years later, the FBI themselves admitted they might never crack this mystery. But that hasn't stopped internet detectives from chasing their own theories, and what they found might blow your mind. By the time the FBI released Ricky's coded papers to the public in 2011, something incredible happened. The internet woke up. Cryptography forums, Reddit threads, YouTube channels, even amateur code breakers started analyzing every single letter, number, and symbol. Every pattern, every space, every line was dissected, debated, and theorized over. Some sleuths said the code was a substitution cipher, hiding names and locations. Others believed it was a personal shorthand, meaning only Ricky himself could have understood it, though that theory seems impossible considering his literacy. Then came the wildest claims. Some users proposed the code mapped drug drop locations across Missouri. They created diagrams and charts, trying to match street names with sequences in the code. Another group claimed the numbers represented dates, important meetings, deadlines, or even gang hits. A few conspiracy theorists suggested the code wasn't a code at all, but a warning. Whoever wrote it wanted someone else to die if the message wasn't delivered. The discussions got so intense that some moderators had to warn, greater than, "We don't condone illegal activity." But these theories are fascinating. The truth? No one has cracked it. Not Reddit, not cryptography experts, not hobbyists. But the online obsession did something powerful. It kept Ricky McCormick's story alive. People around the world are still drawn to the mystery, still debating who killed him and what those notes mean. Decades after his death, Ricky McCormick isn't just a name. He's a puzzle, a code, a mystery that haunts every cornfield, every keyboard, every cryptography forum in the world. And the craziest part? The answer may be sitting right in front of us, waiting for someone brave enough to decode it. It's been more than 2 decades since Ricky McCormick was found in that Missouri cornfield, but somehow his story refuses to fade. Podcasts, YouTube channels, and even national news outlets have picked up the case again. People are fascinated, not just by the murder, but by the mysterious coded notes that nobody can decipher. In 2025, several major news articles highlighted how the case remains unsolved, bringing it back into trending conversations. Cryptography enthusiasts are still sharing new theories online, dissecting every letter, every number, as if a hidden world might finally reveal itself. The FBI, for their part, has remained mostly silent. Official statements still say, "Despite our best efforts, the Ricky McCormick coded papers remain unsolved. We continue to seek the public's help in deciphering this case." This renewed attention has created a wave of public interest. Amateur sleuths and true crime enthusiasts around the world are diving into Reddit threads, forums, and social media, sharing their analyses, trying to connect dots that law enforcement couldn't. Some theories now combine historical data, GIS mapping, and even AI-driven code-breaking techniques. People are convinced that the solution could reveal drug networks still operating in the Midwest, hidden secrets about Ricky's final days, potential clues about who killed him. And yet, despite all the speculation, the truth remains out of reach. 2 decades, thousands of hours spent analyzing letters and numbers, millions of eyes scrutinizing every detail, and still, the Ricky McCormick code remains a locked door. The question lingers, was Ricky killed for what he knew? Or was he just an unfortunate man caught in a dangerous world? And somewhere, maybe, the answer still lies hidden in plain sight, waiting for the person brave enough to crack it. Even after more than 25 years, Ricky McCormick's story continues to fascinate. His murder remains unsolved, his coded papers remain unbroken, and the mystery refuses to leave anyone alone. Ricky was not a famous man. He didn't have money, power, or influence. Yet his story has captured the imagination of thousands, perhaps millions, around the world. Why? Because his case is more than just a murder. It's a puzzle, a challenge to logic, a riddle that has stumped professional cryptographers, law enforcement, and curious citizens alike. The papers in his pocket have become a symbol, a reminder that sometimes the truth is hidden in plain sight, that secrets can be deadly, that ordinary lives can touch extraordinary mysteries. And that's what keeps people coming back to Ricky's story. Why it still matters. The fascination isn't just about death or crime. It's about curiosity, intelligence, and human nature. People want to solve puzzles. People want justice. And when the answer seems just out of reach, that's when the story becomes timeless. Every post, every forum discussion, every podcast episode adds another layer. Every theory brings new eyes, new ideas, and a chance, maybe one day, to finally crack the code. Final suspense. So here's what we know. Ricky McCormick died in a Missouri cornfield in 1999. 2 pieces of coded papers were found in his pockets. Despite years of investigation, the FBI and cryptography experts still can't crack the code. Online communities and amateurs continue to analyze and speculate. What we don't know: who killed Ricky McCormick? Why was he killed? What secrets were hidden in those coded pages? And perhaps most chilling, the answers may never come. Some mysteries are meant to stay unsolved. Some codes are meant to keep their secrets. And some lives, like Ricky McCormick's, remind us that truth can be stranger than fiction. But one thing is certain. Every time someone picks up those notes, every time a new theory is made, the story lives on. And maybe, just maybe, one day, someone will finally crack the code.